It's time for another arrest breakdown. This time we're going to go to Burnaby, BC, and have a look at a citizen's arrest made by some employees of Canadian Tire. Hello, my name's Nicholas Wansbutter. I'm a criminal defense lawyer in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, and this is Don't Talk TV. So as I said in the intro, I'm going to take a look at another arrest. This time it's not an arrest done by police, it's an arrest conducted by what look like loss prevention officers and other employees of a Canadian Tire store in Burnaby, British Columbia. So this is from News 1130. So we have an article here titled, "Maskless Confrontation at Burnaby Canadian Tire Investigated as Assault." And we're going to look at the video in a minute here, but I just want to get some of the brief facts as reported by the news here. So apparently, a man who refused to wear a mask inside a Burnaby Canadian Tire store on Monday is at the center of an assault investigation. Again, we'll look at the video. But Burnaby RCMP say they received a call from staff members at the store saying the man would not put on a mask and would not leave. When he said no, they decided they're going to escort him out. That's when, allegedly, he assaulted a couple of staff members. And that's, of course, when the video starts and the altercation happens. So, let's have a look at the video.
What?
You are going to remove your hands.
Why?
So the video starts in media res here. But one thing I would just point out is, right at the very beginning, the loss prevention officer already has a set of handcuffs out. So it looks like what's happening here is this gentleman is not agreeing to be handcuffed by a loss prevention officer. Now, that's very interesting to me because I can say from over 15 years of practice in criminal law, both as a prosecutor and as a defense lawyer, I've seen hundreds of shoplifting cases. And in every single shoplifting case I've dealt with to date, from Manitoba to Ontario, loss prevention officers not only do not attempt to handcuff people, they don't even lay hands on them or touch them. They will follow the individuals, call the police. Usually they'll have dispatch on their cell phone as they follow the individual to keep eyes on them. But they very purposely do not engage in physical contact. They try not to escalate the situation in any way. So there's something already strange here in my view, that you have a group of loss prevention officers or other Canadian Tire employees laying hands on this individual. They've got handcuffs out. Frankly, I'd like to know what a loss prevention officer is even doing in possession of handcuffs. It's not necessarily illegal to own handcuffs, but why does he have them? Maybe the loss prevention company employed by Canadian Tire has a totally different practice than any of the loss prevention companies I've seen. But this is something that already seems a bit odd to me. Here we see him repeatedly saying, "Get your hands off of me, get your hands off of me." So he's clearly resisting arrest at this point. The first question that comes up is he being lawfully arrested, and does he have the right to resist arrest? Now, a lot of this will turn on whether they were actually arresting him or attempting to arrest him for failing to wear a face mask, or whether they were arresting him for an assault. And that's a big difference, because while in Canada, people can make a citizen's arrest under Section 494, Sub 1 of the Criminal Code of Canada, non-peace officers can only make an arrest on an indictable criminal offense. And Section 491 specifically says, anyone may arrest without warrant A, a person whom he finds committing an indictable offense, or B, a person who, on reasonable grounds he believes, has committed a criminal offense and is escaping from and freshly pursued by persons who have lawful authority to arrest that person. So you can see that's a big difference, because they would not have the right to arrest him if it's for a mask bylaw infraction. Now that said, if they're arresting him for an assault is a hybrid offense under the Criminal Code of Canada, meaning that it can be preceded by indictment and is therefore considered an indictable offense for the purpose of the citizen's arrest provisions of the Criminal Code. However, any arrest whether it be a citizen's arrest or a police arrest, must be conducted in a reasonable manner and done with a reasonable amount of force. And if the arrest is unlawful, the person being arrested has the right to resist an unlawful arrest, because an unlawful arrest is essentially a forcible confinement, which is itself a crime under the Criminal Code of Canada. An alternative might be defensive property provisions. Section 35 of the Criminal Code of Canada says that a person is not guilty of an offense if they believe on reasonable grounds that they are in peaceable possession of a property or acting under the authority of or lawfully assisting a person whom they believe on reasonable grounds is in peaceable possession. And B, they believe on reasonable grounds that another person is about to enter, is entering, or has entered the property without being entitled to do so, is about to take the property, or is about to damage the property. So there might be an argument to say that they would be able to use some level of force to remove this individual from the Canadian Tire for refusing to wear a mask. However, once again, subsection D of section 35 says that the act must be reasonable in the circumstances. So again, I've already questioned jumping to the use of handcuffs. I don't think the use of handcuffs would be reasonable if it's simply to evict someone from property. Let's look at how the rest of this arrest progresses and whether this is a reasonable use of force. So we're just going to fast forward a bit here. Now, how many people are going to say that placing someone in a chokehold like that is reasonable?
Put your hand behind your back. Put your hand behind your back. Put your hand behind your back. Can't breathe. I can't breathe. You're choking me. Somebody film this, please. Film this.
I love the worker with his mask 3/4 of the way off saying, "Nobody's choking you." Just the irony of the whole situation, where this started over this individual not wearing a mask and ostensibly them being scared for the health repercussions. So their remedy for someone not having a mask is to get a whole bunch of people not just within 6 feet of him, but physically grabbing onto him and on top of him and tackling him, and masks falling off.
You're assaulting me. You're violent. You guys aren't the police. You're nothing. Get your hands off of me. You cannot do this. Please. Get your hands off of me. Stop it. Why are you resisting?
I'm just going to speed through the rest of the video because I think you've got a flavor of it at this point. So, aside from the chokehold, I think in assessing the reasonableness of this situation, a consideration will be whether police were called, whether police were on the way. Why didn't they feel they could just wait for police to arrive to deal with this situation? Why did they feel the need to escalate it and start throwing handcuffs on this individual? Why didn't they follow the type of procedures that I've always seen with loss prevention officers, where they de-escalate, they stay away from the individual, they keep an eye on them so they can make sure the police arrest the right person and that they don't escape, but they don't engage in a physical confrontation. As is often the case in situations like this, we don't have the full picture of what occurred here. So it's impossible for me to give a firm opinion on the reasonableness of the arrest, but I think I can safely say that the optics aren't good. And I can safely say that I have little interest in shopping at a store where an individual isn't wearing a mask, quite possibly because they have a legitimate exemption. The British Columbia Ministerial Order on Masks, for example, has a number of exceptions laid out. Down here, face coverings required in public spaces are laid out in Section 3, and Section 4 says that Section 3 does not apply as follows and gives a number of exemptions, such as for people under 12 years of age, people who are unable to wear face coverings because of psychological behavioral health conditions or physical, cognitive, or mental impairment, and others. Of course, this video is not legal advice, and if you are in a situation, you should always call a lawyer. Call myself or another lawyer. My 1855 number is below, and you can receive specific advice tailored to your situation. So today on Don't Talk TV, we've done another arrest breakdown, this time of the Canadian Tire arrest in Burnaby, BC. If there's any other topics that you'd like me to produce a video on, please leave a comment in the comments box below. And if you found this video interesting or informative, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing.